This week in the headlines, the DA calls for an end to the national state of disaster, we unveil South Africa's real matric pass rate, and the ANC and EFF cause chaos in the Joburg City Council. But first, the economic flip-floppers conducted what can only be called workplace terrorism, as they stormed into restaurants to check the ratio between foreign and local workers. You'll remember that in 2019, Julius Malema called for the country's borders to be abolished. Now he seems to be championing an entirely different cause. The more irrelevant the EFF becomes, the louder they seem to shout, and the more they try to turn people against each other. When it suits him, Julius Malema clearly has no problem stoking even xenophobia. But whatever the EFF's agenda might be, the rule of law must be maintained, and businesses must be protected against trespassing and intimidation. South Africa has been governed under a national state of disaster for nearly 2 years. This allows government to exercise extra parliamentary powers without prior consultation or public notice. So even at adjusted level 1, whatever that means, the sword of lockdown hangs over the country, and it can come down at any time. If we don't end the national state of disaster as a matter of urgency, millions of South Africans will continue to be locked out of opportunities. So when last week the president finally said that his government will consider alternatives to a national state of disaster, the DA welcomed his remarks. But we also know to judge the president not by his words, but by his actions. At the moment, South Africa does have a national disaster, but it's not the Omicron variant. It is record levels of unemployment, especially among young people. This disaster has only been made worse by the government's handling of COVID-19. From the outset, the DA has fought against the government's abuse of its lockdown powers, including our case against Section 27 of the Disaster Management Act. That case is in the Constitutional Court. We congratulate all those matrics who passed their 2021 examinations under very difficult circumstances. But let's be honest, the real matric pass rate is far lower than the 76.4% announced by the Basic Education Minister. Surely, we must also count those learners who have dropped out before writing their matric exam if we want an accurate measure of the state of our education system. If we do count those learners who've dropped out between grade 10 and matric, then the real matric pass rate is only 51.4%, far lower than the rate announced by government. And here's the real horror story. In the last 10 years, over 5 million learners have dropped out of school between grade 10 and grade 12. 5 million. This week, the DA is going to court to end rotational schooling, the arrangement that keeps children out of class, ostensibly to protect them against COVID, but only leading to lost learning days. The ANC and the EFF, having failed to win an election or to form a coalition in Johannesburg, now seem intent on disrupting meetings of the Municipal Council. Not once, but twice in the span of a single week. This disruptive behavior impacts not only on service delivery to the residents of that city, but also on the council's constitutional duties. Joburg now has a DA mayor, Dr. Mpho Phalatse, and she's called on the national leadership of the ANC to get its house in order and to stop disrupting Joburg council meetings. The city's 5 million residents face further service delivery disruptions if these political games aren't stopped. And while this was all happening, the president and one of his senior cabinet ministers, Lindiwe Sisulu, were busy exchanging angry press statements. Imagine that, a cabinet minister publicly contradicting the very president who put her in that position. The minister, in turn, seems genuinely unapologetic about trash-talking the country's judges and the Constitution. It's all very amusing until you realize how much time and energy is being wasted at the very top of government on internal ANC divisions. Once again, it's party before country.